Hi, welcome to the Fit and Healthy Today show, and today our subject matter is eczema. This chronic itchy inflammatory skin disease, or skin condition I should say, is commonly found on the wrists, the face. You're going to find it right around the elbow areas, behind the legs. It can show up on the arms. And it's very, very common in the United States, where we have anywhere from 10 to 15% of the U.S. population that suffers from eczema. There's not a whole lot of good medical treatments for this disease or skin condition, because I know personally I've experienced it, and the medications and things that they put me on eventually ended up being absolutely worthless, and could have caused me some real harm because they were steroidal treatments and things like that. So this is a subject that I know well. I'd like to look at the causes, and they're kind of multifaceted and difficult to determine sometimes as to which one might affect you, or a combination of thereof. Number one, I think food allergies. You've got to find out what foods you're allergic to anytime you have any type of skin conditions. And that, in addition, not just food allergies, but chemical allergies, irritants. If you go into a department store and smell perfume and it causes you to get itchy, you got to determine what you're allergic to. Now, with food allergies, there's a 99 food panel that can be done, where they take your blood, they run what items, and we look at the serum IgE. That's how your body responds to food as a chemical within it. And they can test it and find out whether you're sensitive, like in my case, to eggs, milk, soy, wheat, all those kinds of things. Heredity as well, because our ability and our immune system's ability to respond or over-respond is definitely genetically passed on, and this is a condition in which if one or more parents or grandparents has it, generally you're going to have it. You're going to have a good chance of having it, provided the other factors come into play. Stress. Stress. When people are extremely stressed, they're very acidic. And when the body gets acidic, it allows things like yeast, your immune system gets suppressed, everything gets out of balance. That can cause eczema to come to light, especially when you have nutrient deficiencies, which primarily, when we see fatty acid deficiencies, the lack of good fats in the diet. You don't know how many times I've asked people, do you eat nuts and avocados and things? And most of them say, yeah, I eat peanuts. Well, peanuts aren't nuts, they're legumes, number one. Number two, they're not eating any of the other good fats in their diet. They're eating tons of inflammatory fats that raise arachidonic acid inflammation. And so what happens then is they'll get eczema, skin condition, joint pain. It shows itself in a lot of different ways. So we need to have more good fats in our diet: walnuts, almonds, pecans, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, avocados, fish, and less of the saturated fats that you're going to get in milk and dairy and meat source fats. So looking for the leaner cuts of meat. A balanced immune system. What you're going to find is, in the immune system issue, the immune system gets decreased, which the white blood cells decrease down, which in turn, your ability to deal with prostaglandin and these bad fats rises. And then your ability to metabolize and use the good fats lowers. So we got to get immune system regulated as best we can with proper nutrition and dietary supplements as well too. So if you're going to have a immune problem, chances are good it's going to end up showing itself somewhere on your skin eventually. Yeast and candida infections. With all the sugar intake, all the junk intake that I'm seeing everybody, I have more kids coming now with eczema than I've ever seen before. And what that means eventually, since their immune system is chronically having to react and respond to all this yeast and bacteria and all of that, it eventually could make the immune system become an autoimmune system problem, where the immune system doesn't know how to regulate itself, especially if there's nutritional deficiencies. Use of antibiotics and steroids, like they gave me when I had eczema, or I had antibiotics when I had bad bronchitis. They never gave me the good bacterias, so my body when all the antibiotics destroyed a good portion of my good bacteria, my immune system could no longer modulate and regulate. So therefore, using the antibiotics or the steroids, particularly like for asthma and those types of disorders, and prednisone, that are used oftentimes for people that have chronic allergies, Benadryl, all those kinds of things can cause a yeast overgrowth and a destruction of your good bacteria, which in turn can cause eczema. And other skin disorders such as psoriasis, if you've ever seen people with those patchy things on their elbows and their knees, psoriasis. Now, when we also look at how the body gets rid of its toxins, through the liver, through the skin, through the bowel, a lot of people are not having adequate amounts of bowel movements. They're not going. I have people come in and say, I only go once every 5 days, and I'm like horrified, because you're supposed to be having a bowel movement twice a day, at least 2 or 3 times a day. I'm not talking loose, I'm talking regular bowel movements. If the body doesn't detoxify, you reabsorb all these toxins, and guess what? It's going to use the skin to get rid of the toxins. When we're talking about diet, when a person has eczema or for prevention of eczema or keeping eczema from coming back, we've got to have lots of good water. 8 ounces every day. 8 ounces every 2 hours you want to have. You're going to avoid the allergy-producing food. So if you know that you're sensitive to some sort of food, please stay away from it. And I'll give a list here of some of the foods that can cause an issue with it. But eating fatty acid foods such as nuts, flax seeds, all the avocados, what I talked about earlier, walnuts, almonds, pecans. Those good fats increase prostaglandin 1 production, which enables you to deflame, to bring down inflammation. Lots of veggies. Remember how I talked about the acid-alkali? A lot of people are under stress and they're too acidic. Well, if we can alkali the blood with lots of good fruits and vegetables, and you can go online and punch in alkaline-producing foods, you can get a good gist of what things are alkaline-producing and eat more of those. And this goes whether or not you have arthritis, gout, any inflammatory or any pain. Alkaline the body is very, very important. Eating lots of cultured or sour products like sauerkraut, they're lactic acid inducing. So kefir, probiotics, those types of things to maintain the bacteria levels. Very, very important to maintain overall health and detoxification of the bowel. Now when we're talking about foods to avoid, this is a hard one, particularly if you're not like me and you're not just shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, but you're adding all these crackers and all the stuff that are full of chemicals, non-organic junk, you're going to have problems. So you got to eliminate all foods that have additives, chemicals. If you read the box and you don't know what it is or you can't find out what it is, please don't buy it if you have any skin issues. Eliminate all foods that cause allergies, as I mentioned before, and have those blood panel tests so you know what foods to avoid. Do not eat saturated fats or solid fats. That means fats that at air temperature are solid. So that would be your French fry fats, that would be your meat fats, any of types of fats that solidify, your bacon fats, mostly meat fats and saturated fats. They interfere with your fatty acid metabolism in the liver and throughout the body, and therefore raise your inflammation, and you're not going to be able to deal with the inflammatory aspects of eczema. Avoid sugar, spicy foods, dairy, caffeine, strawberries, believe it or not, chocolate, alcohol, and soy products, in addition to the foods that you might be allergic to. For some reason, these seem to feed more eczema as far as inflammation is concerned, so try to avoid them. When we're talking about supplements, there's not a whole lot actually, because a lot of it has to do with diet. Essential fatty acids, those good fats in the diet, the nuts I talked about, well, there's also supplements that can be very helpful that I know I use that are helpful for reduction of inflammation. A couple of tablespoons of flax oil a day, or at least a tablespoon of fish oil a day where you're getting at least 1.8 grams of EPA, which works out to about a tablespoon of fish oil a day, and there's some good tasting ones out there that can really help reduce eczema as well as psoriasis. Borage or evening primrose oil. We're talking about a balance between omega-3s and omega-6s, and borage oil is a natural plant source of omega-6, which can help stabilize hormones and help with the healing on the skin. Ester C with bioflavonoids. Eczema can leave scars because it's pretty deep within the skin. So keeping the vitamin C levels help the collagen matrix, and they help the skin tissue to repair. So keeping C always up, whether you're talking about skin conditions, aging, anything that involves tissue that is collagen based, you always keep C levels up. Enzymes. Now, a lot of studies support that a lot of eczema sufferers have poor digestion, and a lot of it can be attributed to the lack of stomach acids. So whenever, and at one point I had a doctor try to put me on an acid reflux drug. Now mind you, I'm an A blood type. I don't break down proteins. I don't break down meat very well. And you throw me on a drug like that, and I'm not going to break down much foods. So when you're betaine hydrochloride deficient, you don't break down fats and you don't break down proteins. And when you don't break those down, they enter the digestive tract and they tear it apart. They make you so inflamed. So please be very cautiously aware. And I know Ralph has brought up some studies regarding these acid reflux drugs and all the side effects and long-term usage. But enzymes, enzymes, enzymes. And if you are someone who, like me, does not digest fats and proteins very well, chances are good you're betaine hydrochloride deficient. That will help you break your food down better. A good multiple vitamin with B vitamins, adding in an extra B vitamin maybe later in the day. The B vitamins help skin tissue heal. They help you better deal with stress. Now, we want to look for allergen-free ones. So going in and pulling one off your local warehouse, a one daily type of vitamin that's got 12 to 14 toxic substances and dyes, is not my idea of a good multiple vitamin. You need to go into a good health food store, find an allergen-free type of multivitamin, and utilize that instead. Zinc. Good studies on zinc, 50 milligrams a day can help skin tissue repair, help the immune system. 50 milligrams with maybe about 1 or 2 milligrams of copper until your symptoms subside. Acidophilus probiotics. Remember how I talked about how steroids and good bacteria can destroy steroids and antibiotics can destroy the good bacteria? Well, so can fluoride in the water, so can pesticides, chemicals, all those wonderful things. So good bacteria, the probiotics, when you're suffering from eczema, are vital in order to bring the immune system back into balance. Natural vitamin E helps the skin tissue heal, and I've seen people apply and utilize vitamin E topical. There are some creams out there that can be utilized for eczema, and you can find them in your natural health food store. I know I have them in mine, which are very helpful for the relief as well. Homeopathics. Now, homeopathics is very specific as to symptoms, and with eczema, some people have white patches, it weeps, you know, they have red, whatever. And depending on what your issue is and whether it feels better with hot or cool, there are some homeopathic remedies out there that can be very helpful for eczema that can reduce some of the symptoms. A lot of people that have mold and yeast allergies also will have eczema, and there's some great homeopathics that can help with that as well too. Burdock root. It's really rich in something called inulin. Now you can buy inulin by itself, but burdock root is a blood purifier, and it's been shown to help with eczema as well. Quercetin. Quercetin it blocks mast cell production and helps the allergy responses. I know when we first moved here, my husband had a lot of allergies, and I did too. The quercetin, along with the vitamin C, really helped until our bodies could become accustomed to this area, helped a lot with their allergies. I still take them because, once again, I have eczema and allergies, and the quercetin does stop some of my allergic reactions. Now, the last thing on the list here I have is a yeast cleanse. I think a good portion of people that suffer from eczema